So far we have like some lack of perspective about what Robusta is and how Robusta is being understood and brewed across the nation. I will be talking in this podcast what goes behind it, from sherry to wet mill to dry mill, how long is the process, how many people are involved, where does this coffee goes to, how to brew this coffee, everything about Robusta. If you have had Robusta, there are high chances that the Robusta is coming from Sethuraman Estate. And today I am sitting with the founder of Kapi Royal, Sethuraman Estate. He is the 6th generation grower and the creator of world's first certified specialty Robusta. So you joined the family estate in 1995.
Correct.
After your MBA.
Correct.
And did you do any SWOT analysis about the estate? What's the estate, and did your planning according to that?
Absolutely. So I finished my engineering in 1995 and then I joined the family business. And like all youngsters, you learn all these various terms in college. So SWOT was one of them. And so when I came to the farm, I said, okay, let me do a SWOT analysis of my farm. I mean, it was more to make me understand what we're good at, right? I mean, these techniques or these tools give you a certain perception about what you could do, right? And what came out as a strength was I could be an extremely good Robusta producer because luckily the microclimatic conditions of where we are sitting, and we are sitting in the midst of our farm, right? And everything pointed to us growing extremely good Robusta. Or I could have been like everyone else and said, no, you know what, Robusta, it's a poor offshoot of coffee, who's going to buy it, and let me try and grow average Arabica. So as any youngster would say, let me take the path less taken. All of us when we were young, I was all of 21, and you have that josh in you saying that, come on, let's take on the world. So I said, okay, let's go. What's the worst that's going to happen? You might as well fail, but at least you've given it a try. So I said, I want to do the best Robusta in the world. So that was what came out of the SWOT. Of course, other interesting things came up, saying that what sort of coffee we can do. Those are things that we worked upon as we went along. When I say we, it's just not me. Of course, but I have a whole team of people, my staff, my managers, my family, all of them backed me. I mean, it was not easy to start off with, because suddenly here's this 21-year-old kid just out of college, and he's just doing something ridiculous, which in the 90s was unheard of, to pull Arabica, plant Robusta, do specialty Robusta, all that sort of thing. So it was interesting.
Well, how was the mindset? Like, you were 21 and also you have like a 400 acres of estate to look after, and also you need to consider that having such a big estate, it's an elephant.
Correct.
To take care, to plan.
Correct. When all the data, I mean, initially, I love data. I mean, by default, my mind works when I look at numbers, and I like writing down. I'm one of those guys who likes to write down on a piece of paper, not just writing down, but writing down with a pencil. When you look at the data gives you some feedback. I mean, I'm not saying that it's always there, but it doesn't lie. It's hard, cold facts. And the data always kept pointing towards saying that, listen, this is the direction that you should go. Now, whether you take it or not is a choice that you do, right? So then became the other part, telling myself that, listen, we are doing specialty Robusta. You talk to anyone. I mean, I remember talking to the so-called stalwarts of the industry, first in India itself. And everyone said, I mean, literally you're Looney Tunes, you're all of 21, you have, probably you have too much of money to spend or whatever it is. Don't even attempt it. Just grow Arabica, you're fine, you'll get your prize, you'll get whatever it is. But somehow I kept telling myself, no, we have to do it. So it was difficult, but like I said, got a lot of support from my family, my mother initially, then my wife, my children, my staff, everyone. I mean, in a sense, no one questioned saying that, why are you doing this? No one said, listen, everyone else is growing specialty Arabica. What are you doing with this? This is like such a poor offshoot kind of thing. So what do you want to achieve? So the initial steps were kind of difficult, because first I had to get the processing. I had to get more than the processing. First, I had to get the production part of it. That is to produce very good coffee. As I've been talking in various forums, and I would like to reach out to everyone who's listening here, a lot of emphasis given just on the processing. Processing is very critical, no doubt, but it's the first part of it is the growing.
Yes.
So if you're able to grow coffee any coffee, Robusta, Arabica, Liberica, anyone. But if you do it well, there are certain requirements of a plant. These are living plants and they give you a crop year after year. They are not giving you a crop this year and then there's no crop for 5 years and then you pick another crop after 5 years. These are plants which give you a crop year after year. They reward you for good work. You look after the plant, I always say the plant looks after you. Yes, weather plays a role, climatic conditions, there are so many things which are happening which is beyond our control.
Yes.
But what is in our control, if we are able to kind of do it to the best of our ability, one, and to the best of the requirement of the plant. So there are two things which have to mesh. And if these two things mesh and gel, then you get an extremely good coffee fruit or cherry, as we would say.
Yes.
And then that cherry, if you process it well, you get an extremely good coffee.
Right.
So that is a very simplified way of how I would look at the initial steps of how you want to do specialty coffee, whether it's Arabica or Robusta.
So if I have to ask, like, the state of the farm in terms of what you need to grow a crop, a good crop, when you joined in 95,
correct,
what is now?
I would say there's no comparison. Sometimes I'm shocked because when I came in 95, obviously the farm was run by a few people. I mean, it was not the way any farm should be run. I mean, it happens because we were studying in Bangalore.
Right.
My mother was there. I'd lost my father when I was quite young.
Sorry.
I was only 12 and all that. So there was a little bit of how do you say, I mean, it not the right way any business should be run. So when I came here, so that was the initial part, making sure that we got our processes in place. I brought in a new team, and the team luckily has been with me for 30 years. They've tolerated me for 30 years, and kudos to them. So all my idiosyncrasies, my madnesses, they have tolerated for 30 years. And so I brought in a new team. We started afresh, and it was important we started afresh because this was a totally different concept that we were going for. We were going for specialty Robusta. Although, see, India keeps saying, we grow, if you look at the coffee board, right?
Yes.
The coffee board has what they call as 3 specialty coffees, if you look at broadly.
Right.
So they talk about the Monsoon Malabar,
Right.
they talk about the Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold, and they talk about the Robusta Kapi Royal.
Right.
So these are 3 which they have kind of just mentioned there. But everyone talks only about the Monsoon Malabar and the Mysore Nuggets. The Kapi Royal is like somewhere in the background, It's always lost out in the background. So it was my entire energy over the years has been to tell people, Robusta is good as long as you give it a fair chance. Just try it. The mindset has always been, listen, if it's Robusta, it's bad coffee. It's Arabica, it's good coffee. I'm not thrashing Arabica. I'm not against anyone's beliefs. My only thought process and my sincere request to everyone who's watching and listening is try it for what it is. Don't have a mindset.
Right.
And then once you actually drink the coffee, 99 out of 100 people are shocked. They're saying this is damn good. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, I can drink this every day. I can drink this and go to the gym, I can do this, I can do that. But I mean, the point is people don't want to try it, Everyone is so fixated on certain things.
Considering that in that 1995, the state of the farm was like processing unit was
correct.
You need to set up like the mills according to the latest technology.
Correct.
Versus today.
Absolutely. Actually, the first 5 to 8 years was only looking at the plant.
Okay.
How do we improve the plant? What can we do? What are the varietals? What will do well at certain areas of the farm? The location, the sloping is important, whether it's a western facing. So western facing has more sun.
Okay.
So which varietal can because Robusta by default is a water loving plant. In terms of, if you want to grow good Robusta, you need to ensure that there's certain amount of water which is given. So if it's a western facing plant or a western facing slope, then the requirement of water is more. If it's an eastern facing, the water requirement is less. Then if it's on top of a hill, can we irrigate that area? There were so many considerations. So so it's like we broke down the farm into mini areas, blocks. We focused on what we can do in that block. There are certain varietals which do well as a washed coffee. There are certain varietals of Robusta which do well as a natural. So that's how I also have kind of ensured. So when we do our harvesting, so we get a little earlier ripener, so and a later ripener. So the later ripener where the bricks reading. is a little more, then that is better for a natural.
Right.
So you had to kind of plan it out. It's not been a unplanned journey. It's been a very planned journey. But if you look back and say 30 years back what I did, 20 years back what I did, even 5 years back pre-COVID what I did, and now, I mean, every year, and if you come back, and I would request you to come back in 2026 December, and you see we would have done something different again. So
that's what I'm trying to break down, for the people who are, really interested into understanding what it takes to manage and run and grow a farm. So initial year, you 4 or 5 years, you spent a lot of time in researching the varietals,
correct,
which are being grown here, and how to improvise the crop, how to improvise the fruit. And if I have to break down the further 15 years of your experience,
like I said, the first 5-6 years was primarily focused on getting all these activities right, what varietals, with slope, what to do with this, and then subsequently another few years we focused on just getting the production up, because being a neglected farm, the production was on the lower side, so we had to get the production up. So once we got the production to a very comfortable level, then we started focusing on the quality. So it's been a stepped, a very planned progression. So there's no point in me growing 2 bags of coffee and then trying to go around and sell 2 bags of coffee, because then people will say, okay, you gave me 2 bags this year, can you repeat this if I want 20 bags next year, or 100 bags?
The consistency.
So, exactly, consistency. And also a lot of people, what I've heard, and this is a fact, I mean, if I go and approach a roaster or a potential buyer, they may buy a small quantity to start off with, but then when they say that, listen, this works well for us, but I need 100 bags of this because I'm doing this, I'm replacing this coffee, or I want it as a standalone, or I'm doing this, can you give me 100? And if I don't have the production, or if I don't have that consistency, and if I don't have the coffee, then he'll say, listen, it's a seasonal thing, I'll buy it for you for a year or whatever it is, and then it's gone. So then it's the word doesn't get out, right? When it's a seasonal blend, like say now in the Western world, we are Christmas is approaching, so a lot of roasters have Christmas blends and New Year blends, or in India we may have a Diwali blend, or whatever it is, So I mean, these are super specialty coffees which we do produce, but if I want a consistent run, so then we got the production up. After we got the production up, then we focused a lot on getting our wet mill and the dry mill, or in Indian terms what you would call the pulping station and the curing area. So then we got that ready. So then by which time then I was ready to take on the world.
Which year was that? Like
so roughly, see, we started exporting under the brand name of Kapi Royal from 2008. But before that we were exporting through different agencies by about say 2004. So from 95 to 2004 was this journey, and then 2004 onwards was the initial baby steps of exporting Specialty Robusta. 2008 I said, we know what this coffee is all about. Then from 2008 onwards we've been exporting under the brand name Kapi Royal, which now over the years has been recognized as the finest Robusta in the world.
That's when the shebang started.
First step was what we saw was the weighment of coffee. Okay, the weighment of coffee, the coffee is put on the fruit tank on top. Secondly, after that huge looking opening there, once we open it, the coffee will flow in by gravity into this shaking grader. The intention of this shaking grader is to remove as many impurities as possible. Okay, it removes dust, it removes twigs, it removes leaves, it removes bunches, gives a wash to the coffee, because the coffee has been sitting on the plant, it has some dust particles, etc. So it gets washed here. Then using a principle of flotation, the lighter coffee comes there, that is to our left, the good coffee comes to our right. Now there is some amount of greens along with this which will come. You will see that. Now the greens the coffee, that is the right and the green, will pass through the elevator and enter that square box. The square box is called a green bean separator, or also a centrifuge pulper. That works on a principle of hardness. So you have like a centrifuge shaft and it's moving at speed. So if the coffee has enough of mucilage, the centrifuge will kind of open the skin and it falls down here. If it's hard, it gets pushed to the side and you'll see it actually come out here. So you'll see here a lot of greens coming out. Where that stone is there, that entire pit will have green coffee.
Okay.
The good coffee then passes through two drum pulpers. So we have the main pulper. So actually there are three pulpers which are operating: the centrifuge pulper, the main pulper, and then a repasser. So with this we remove most of the fruit skin. The coffee will come with some amount of water and mucilage into this screw conveyor. The water is removed by all these perforations. The coffee with the mucilage will then go into these tanks like what we have there, and then starts the process of fermentation. So the process broadly, the process of fermentation is about 30 hours for our washed coffee. So that coffee was pulped yesterday evening around this time, and will be washed tomorrow morning. So when we come tomorrow, we can see that washing happening. So this is broadly the level of pulping for washing of coffee. So it's all undergone fermentation. So there's hardly any water in this. It's only its own juice. So it's fermenting in its own juice. It's like a cake batter. So you see the difference.
Yeah.
You can easily see the difference, which is fresh and which is kind of ready for washing. Especially there, you can see all the bubbles and all
there,
that.
yeah.
So the minute you put, about
From there to all the way.
So now you feel the weight of this. It should feel like actually you're holding rock and pebbles.
Most of the awards you have won for the Robusta itself.
Correct.
It's like 15 hour awards.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the world, 25 is the max.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can you just elaborate this concept a bit?
Coffee Quality Institute came out with the grading concept to say that how do we say what is good coffee.
Right.
So initially they came out with a program for Arabicas, and they came out with what they called as the Q program. So like a lot of times when coffee connoisseurs get together, we are talking about, oh, I'm tasting nuttiness, I'm tasting citrus, I'm tasting apple, I'm tasting spices or whatever it is. But for a common man, he finds it very difficult because his palate may not have been graded or educated to taste those parameters. Yes, I mean, if I have to tell someone, listen, you're tasting jackfruit, because I'm saying he's tasting jackfruit, in his mind's eye, he kind of tastes jackfruit, but it's not right. So then I think CQI said, okay, let's get together and form this grading system. And if a coffee is above 80, so they came only for Arabica. So there again, the Arabica Robusta divide is there. So they came only for Arabicas and they came out with the Q program. So if a coffee was above 80, right, they called it a specialty coffee. And this program started sometime in the towards 2008-9 or whatever. Then some of the producers, the Robusta producers, said, listen, we are feeling a little left out, so can we come in? So then they started the R program, or the Robusta specialty program.
Which year was that?
2012.
All right.
So 2012, it was headed actually by a lot of specialty tasters and connoisseurs the world over. So they got together and said, see, listen, there are certain things which Robusta has which Arabica doesn't have, the characteristics. So we need to fine tune the scoring system,
Right.
because it's purely on a score.
Yes.
So you give marks on a score, and then if it adds up to 80 and above, it's considered specialty. So for Robusta, they changed a few things, and the program came out in 2012. So I said, let me challenge myself, and I sent our sample over, and lo behold, we were the very first R certified coffee in the world.
My God.
And then subsequently every year we send our coffee. So it's done remotely. So you send your coffee to these designated cupping areas or labs, as they would call them, which are certified by CQI. They in turn send the samples remotely to all our graders across the world. They choose. So it's all random. No one knows whose coffee it is. It's just a code which goes out, and then they in turn do their cupping. They look at the beans for defects. There's so many things that they do. I mean, there's a whole process.
Right.
It's all very well documented in the CQI website.
All right.
And then subsequently, all of these, I think they send it to, they keep a file sample with them and then send it to three 3 R certified people, or rather cuppers across the world, and the scores come in, and then they tabulate the scores, and they also check the scores against the file sample, and if everything is more or less within a range, then a particular kind of score is allocated, and if your score is above 80, then you are considered to be specialty robusta.
Wow.
So it's a quite a elaborate
Nice.
process. You know, there's no biasm because you don't know where the coffee is coming
Exactly.
from, right? All you know is there's a code and you get the beans. That's all. So it could be anywhere in the world. I mean, right from Japan to the US, anywhere. So it's an interesting thing. So you have to keep challenging yourself, and we send our samples every year of lots that we produce.
Right.
Just to see that whether we are keeping a standard. See, because we also need to ensure that, you know, it's not good enough, you know. So, I mean, I always compare myself to some of these finer sports athletes all over the world, right? I mean, what motivates them beyond 20 Grand Slams in tennis to go to 22 and 23? I mean, it's fabulous motivation. I mean, if you win even 2 or 3, you know, your life is set. You don't need to do much. And you see a lot of good you know, athletes, you know, fall by the wayside because they lack the motivation to take it forward. But when you see, so, and I've been fortunate in my lifetime to see some of these great athletes. As these great athletes and sports persons across how they keep innovating year after year, we need to keep innovating ourselves.
Yes.
And the innovation, you know, at times it can be a very small thing. I'll just give an example. See, when you harvest your coffee, okay, 9 times out of 10, the workers should, because they are harvesting. I mean, you can only motivate them to harvest correctly. So if a worker is harvesting the coffee, the right beans to be picked, then subsequent to that, the coffee should be put in the correct bag. Because the minute you harvest coffee, because of the sugar content, it starts fermenting. And you don't want the fermentation to go to a level where then you lose the intrinsic quality of the coffee.
Right.
So, you know, it's quite warm, you know, during the harvest season, during the day. Evenings tend to be much colder, but during the day, like what we are sitting now, etc., it can be quite warm. So, assuming I've harvested this coffee at say 9 o'clock in the morning, and I've put it in a plastic bag, and you know, because of the heat inside the plastic bag, the coffee will automatically start fermenting. So small things like that. So what could we do to make it better? Keep it in the shade, you know, those sort of things. So small things like that will improve the quality of your coffee going forward. Then in our wet mill, that is our pulping station, a lot of times people have a very standardized way of saying that, okay, I'm doing 36 hours of fermentation, or I'm doing this. So what we do is, regularly we keep checking on our fruit, on the fermentation. So we keep checking and keep cupping, saying that, okay, I've done 12 hours, how does it taste? I've done 14 hours, how does it taste? I've done 24 hours, how does it taste? Because fermentation is based on multiple factors. Fermentation is based on how much of sugars are there, the temperature, actually the coffee itself.
Right.
All that is equally important for us to get these extremely high tasting specialty coffees. You know, if you're doing commercial, then you have like a template, you harvest, you put it in the fermentation vat, let it sit there for 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever it is. Then smaller things like along the way, the next thing which I did was what they do in Kenya. So in Kenya, they don't actually have like a washing station. So they have channels where the coffee after fermentation, the channels run through. So which I showed you yesterday.
Yes.
And it's kind of like washed because you have people with paddles who are walking up and down, and they are agitating the coffee. So I did a small channel, so it's kind of like a semi-wash before it enters my washing thing. So you know, the machine has minimum intervention there.
Yeah, that rotating part that you showed.
Correct. So these are smaller things, but they become really big in the final cup. So if I have to just show it to you and say, listen, I did this year, you'll say, usme kya badi baat hai? I mean, you've just done this. So, but the fact is that has a multiplier effect on the final cup, right? And every time you add those 1%ers, suddenly before you realize that the coffee is like exponentially much better than what it was a couple of years back.
So, can you help me understand the landscape of this 400-acre? How is it spread out?
We're based in Chikmagalur district. Chikmagalur has a lot of people who are in the coffee business would know that is kind of like the birthplace of coffee in India. You know, we have the legend of Baba Budan and the seven seeds and you know all that. Apart from that, the entire district of Chikmagalur primarily is, I mean, the main occupation is growing of coffee and all the associated industries around coffee. So we are based in a town called Magundi. So Magundi is about 60 kilometers from the town of Chikmagalur. We are located on the banks of the river Bhadra, and we are very fortunate that we have the river, because the river is like a blessing for us, because you know it gives certain microclimatic conditions which are very difficult to replicate anywhere else. And that is why I went back to that earlier SWOT analysis of mine, saying the microclimatic conditions, the area that we grow, and all that. So we are located here. We are basically one big hill is our farm. We have certain smaller blocks besides it, but it's one big hill. And like I said, since it's one hill, we have different elevations, different you know, slopes, different facings. So based on that, we you know, we did what we did in terms of what we planted, the varietals, how to look after them. And also things like, you know, if you talk to most people who do irrigation, they have a standard. Let's say we're doing 4 hours of irrigation, or 4.5 hours, or 3 hours, or whatever it is. We try and change as per the varietal also, because the varietal also plays. There are certain varietals which need a little bit more water,
Right.
like a C/R, congenesis into Robusta. Now, a certain part of our farm is congenesis into Robusta. Very high yielding plant, beautiful coffees, has mild acidity, which is very difficult to get in Robusta. Now, the fact that it is congenesis, it is found, apparently the mother plant is found on the bed of the river Congo in Africa.
All right.
And because it's found on the bed of the river Congo, or along the bed of the river Congo, it is water loving. So it needs a little bit more water compared to older Robusta. So you know, you need to know that when you either have coffee. So if you have C/R, and if you're going to give it the same amount of water as you're going to give old Robusta, you're not going to see the yields coming out of C/R. And if you don't get the yields out of C/R, then you're going to say, okay, listen, this coffee is not good. In my old Robusta, I was getting so many bags per acre. I'm getting this many less here, etc. It's a lot to do with knowing these finer points and techniques. So that's broadly. We also grow a lot of black pepper. There's a synergy. So a lot of our trees, we have black pepper. We also grow a lot of Arabica nut in our farm. But more important than the black pepper, Arabica nut, which are commercial crops, what I would like to say is we have, and I have planted over the years, a lot of wild varieties of fruit. When I say wild varieties of fruit, we have wild mango, jackfruit, figs. All this supports our ecosystem. So we have a lot of animals which are residents, and they are our protectors, because basically the animals are natural predators for a lot of pests and diseases, or pests and insects which could affect your plant.
This is the washed coffee here. Now, as you've seen, the temperatures tend to go really high and low. Now we are about 30 something, and by evening it's going to drop to about 12, 13 or whatever it is. But the highs and lows, there's going to be condensation, and there's also dew. The morning dew will sit on the coffee if we don't cover it. And the other issue that we're going to face is when you're going to have a situation where you're adding moisture and removing moisture from the coffee, the coffee quality tends to deteriorate.
Right.
So to avoid that, what we do is we rake it by about 3:30. We cover it with the cloth, which is called the kora kapad there, and then we cover it with a tarpaulin. So now it kind of, there's some little bit of heat inside, so it kind of keeps drying in there. By evening, as the temperature drops, it'll cool down. But whatever moisture is there will be absorbed by this. So in the morning, they will again remove all the tarpaulin and then spread it out. You know, these are our file samples. So every lot that we do washed coffee or any coffee, we keep a sample coffee like this with us. So this I will cup and make sure that this is of a quality that I'm happy with. This is the final product. Okay. So this will now, because this is not yet ready for us either for roasting or for exports or anything. So this is in say about 80% ready. So what's going to happen is we're going to put it through this feeder. It's going to go through the elevator, come through this. This is basically air is being blown from bottom.
Okay.
So a lot of impurities, whichever are here, will be removed. Then it passes through here, second elevator, and then enters. That there's like a rotating seal there. So the intention is the outer, the silver skin, the parchment skin will be removed.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have a peeler polisher. So if you look at this, another layer after this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a silver skin.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is my silver skin.
Yeah.
Okay. So this silver skin will get polished. That's a phosphor bronze cylinder. Why we use phosphor bronze is if you have too much of heat, quality will deteriorate. So you use a phosphor bronze so that the heat transmission is not there. So basically you just do a mild polish to remove the silver skin. So once that is done, then it goes through a grader. So we have different screen sizes. The AA is the Robusta Coffee Royal.
Okay.
AB is the second grade. Then you have the P berries, the Cs, and these are the rejects, the BBBs. So apart from various levels of segregation which happens during the wet mill, this segregation also happens here. One is on size and one is on density. It is hard. Yeah, and that, yeah.
So it's been 3 days. So I have roamed around your coffee estate, your banana estate,
Correct.
and the peppers, all of it. It has been like really beautiful journey. And along this, I saw the Arabica plants,
Correct.
which are like really tall,
Correct.
and the Robusta one. But what I really want to understand now is how many varieties are that you are growing here.
Okay. So primarily our estate is a Robusta farm right across. All whatever coffee is planted is Robusta primarily. We also have Arabica. So just to delve deeper, so primarily there are about 4 broad varieties in coffee. Everyone knows about Arabica, then there's Robusta, then there's Arabica, and there's another smaller group called Excelsior. So we don't have Excelsior, we have Arabica. And how Arabica was, I mean in the old days, just so that people understand, and if Robusta is misunderstood, Arabica is thrashed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really thrashed.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
so probably the next challenge for me is to do specialty Arabica, I guess.
Oh my God.
No, but honestly, I mean, so the reason is because Arabica is actually a tree. So in the local lingo, that is in Kannada here, they call it Mara coffee. Mara is tree, and obviously coffee is coffee. So because it grows like a tree, and it's very, very strong, very hardy plant, a lot of people would grow it right along the fence. So it acts like a fencing pole, plus you get some coffee out of it as an income. I know a lot of estates which have discarded it, thinking that it's poor quality or it's a waste of the space, etc. And I also know now slowly there is a small movement of revival towards Arabica. Just so that everyone understands, Arabica is completely different in terms of the way it is, and it's really a plant which is very difficult to handle because the fruits are unique. It's you've seen it when we did the roasting yesterday. Every single bean is a little different to look at and things like that, and you were able to do a very good roast with it,
Thank you.
So it is a little difficult to handle, but again the same love, attention, like I say, TLC, tender loving care, if you give the plant, and we had some extremely tasty Arabica's yesterday.
I was surprised.
I was too, because you were trying light roast and dark roast. I was not sure how it would come out, but yeah, came out well. So the point I'm trying to say is, again, look after the plants well, and the plant will produce very good cherries. And do the basic. So we have not done too much of experiments with the Arabica. We obviously look after the plant well. We harvest the fruit or the ripe separately, the green separately, and things like that. So we have buyers internationally as well as a few in India, but primarily internationally, who buy Arabica regularly from us, and they've been buying for more than 10 years. Initially they tried as a sample lot. Now a lot of them buy it because it's become part of their standard offering. Of course, we don't produce very large quantities, but what we produce is kind of, spoken for, and whenever we export our coffees, it's part of the export order. In Robusta, like I mentioned earlier, we have three broad varieties. We have the old Robustas, which is called Peridenia, and the old Robustas were brought into India through the Dutch, subsequently Sri Lanka, and then into India. So that it was kind of like that route, because as people would know that actually Sri Lanka used to grow a lot of coffee at one time, and then they got ravaged with leaf rust. And so then some of the enterprising planters in Sri Lanka said, let's try Robusta, and they tried Robusta. For some reason it didn't work, and then Sri Lanka got converted into tea. So that's how the famous Ceylon tea, etc. is. And some of that Robusta found its way into India, and then that's the Robusta journey kind of thing into India. Of course, there are various tales as to how Robusta came into India, but this is one of them. So we have some old Robusta, heirloom, heritage, whatever you want to call them. We have another varietal called the Selection 274 and
SLN
274. So that's kind of like a slightly a hybrid of the old Robusta. So the coffee board, when they did their research, because of certain characteristics of the old Robusta which were not desirable in Robusta, they came out with a 274, and then subsequently came the Saint-Noir. So these are broadly the three. So what we try and do is for our washed, what we have seen over the years, and with multiple cuppings and multiple sampling with international buyers and international so let's say coffee enthusiasts, we've been able to figure out that the Saint-Noir is exceedingly good for washed coffees, which is our flagship. Our Robusta Capi Royal, or the RKR as we would call it, is our flagship coffee. It's been awarded, out of these multiple awards, probably 80% of it are the washed coffees, and that is the Saint-Noir. Then the naturals are done primarily with the old Robustas or the Peridenia, because they tend to develop a little slower, and what we have noticed is the taste profile is different, which suits a natural very well. And the Selection 274, we have very small quantities, but it could be an in-between. So sometimes when you do a honey, we try and use that. If not, we use it as a natural. So primarily that's how we...
I think SLN require most workforce.
Correct. See, because it's neither here nor there in terms of, if you look at it, see this 274 has, in terms of quality wise, it's very good. It's got a very nice mild acidity and various other characteristics, and also a very heavy yielder as long as you look after the plant well. 274 was the in between, so it was neither old nor this, so that a lot of people have that, but I know that slowly people are converting to Saint-Noir, and because of the specialty angle, washed coffees, Robusta, washed Robusta is becoming a thing now in India. So all those sort of characteristics. Although still naturals is still our main way that they process coffee even today, but it's washed coffee is becoming a thing.
And also, like, nobody was doing honey with Robusta.
Correct.
When did you start doing honey with Robusta?
So I remember chatting with some of the Brazilians, because I had visited Brazil a few years back, and they had certain equipments where they were trying to improve the quality of their Arabicas by making honey processed. So that's when I said, let me see if we can experiment, and then we experimented with the honey, and that's how it happened. So and we get some very good orders out of it.
Wow.
So we do very small lots, because again the thing is, just to go deeper into what we do, it's not a situation where we process the coffee and then I start looking for potential buyers. It's the other way around. So we start talking to all our buyers, and a lot of them have been buyers with us for years. My Australian buyers, my buyers in the UK, Swiss buyers, buyers in Japan, etc. They've been buying year after year. So I coordinate with them and say that this is what our season is approaching. What is your requirement, and more importantly, what is the type of coffee that you want? The style of coffee, washed, honey, natural. And based on their requirements and their confirmed orders, we start processing. One. Point number two, we also know the washed coffee that I would give my Australian buyer would be different than the washed coffee I gave my Swiss buyer, because their requirements are different.
Okay.
When people say, you know, we are gourmet, we are, you know, artisan, etc. So we are actually artisan because we have blocks and we have areas, and the way we process our coffee is purely based on the requirement. Now the requirement of my Australian buyer is for a specific purpose. So he wants the coffee to be tasting a particular way. So I need to ensure year after year, consignment after consignment, the coffee is that. So, you know, he gets that consistency in that cup. Similarly, my Swiss buyer wants to do it separately. My UK buyer wants it separately. So if I try and say, okay, fine, I've produced this coffee, and if I send it to, let's say, my Australian buyer, it doesn't suit his purpose. So we the way we go about our entire operation in our processing is buyer specific and centric.
Okay.
It is not generalization saying that, okay, I'm doing washed coffee. If you come to me and say that, listen, I want a washed coffee, but I want it to taste like this because I want it as a single estate, single origin coffee, because I'm offering it as a uniqueness. Then I want this characteristics. Can we work on that? Then we do. You know, over the years we have understood what we need to do to get some almost close to the taste profile that you want. I'm not saying that it's like 100% possible, but we can get there. Now if you want, listen, I want body, I want this, I want that, and I want the coffee from you to be used for this. Some use it as a single estate, some use it as in a blend for as their house blend, some use it for you know, their Christmas specials, whatever. I'm that final decision is obviously of the buyer. But if he gives me the requirement, then we customize it as per that. So even the honey is done accordingly, the naturals are done accordingly. So basically, when we get down to the harvesting season, we kind of have already, I would say 80 to 85% of a coffee is already sold.
Oh wow.
It's only 15% which then I look at potential new buyers. And now with India's market opening up dramatically, and with more and more cafes and you know, people getting into the coffee business, and they want India, make in India, and buying Indian coffee, etc. So I'm trying to see how we can you know, fit our unique product into, you know, the shelves, so that the Indian audience starts enjoying our coffee.
What is a super plant?
So when I say super plant is now let's say a year, typically the general trend of our farm surrounding regions climatically, there's been too much of rain, the April-May temperatures have gone very high, so the yields have dropped. But these super plants, no matter what happens, are giving you the high yields, and they are very good in the cup.
Oh.
So these are like you know, absolutely you know, primed athletes who can run like Usain Bolt. You know, you can get one Usain Bolt.
Wow.
So like that we have few of these.
In terms of yield, how high is yield?
So let's say now you take on an average a plant is giving me say about 4 kilos.
Right.
These plants can give me about 18 to 20 kilos.
My God.
Okay.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah. And similarly, and this is on a consistent basis, not on a casual. And when I say 4 kilos, I'm saying 4 kilos of fruit versus 18 kilos. So you're talking about 4 times that. Just so that to add to the calculation, which I think a lot of people are interested in, is the calculation broadly is 5 kilos of fruit of coffee gives you 1 kg of roasted coffee in a bag.
Oh my God.
So basically one plant's yield for a year is that one bag of coffee which you see, which is 1 kilo.
Wow, that puts it into a perspective that, you know, every bean matters.
Correct. So these super plants, like I say, I mean we don't have too many. We have about 4 or 5 of them on our estate, and year on year, I mean initially I heard the advice of some of the people who've been on our farm for years, looked at it, got it cupped. Did a sample where we said, okay, let's see if I have more of these, so the progeny, right, to say, because in our case all this is by seed.
Okay.
So propagation is by seed. So you make good seeds this year, you put it in the nursery, and the plant is ready. You plant it the following year. So it's like a baby.
Right.
You know, there's a process involved. So we did all that to see how it replicates, and slowly we are seeing that where we have planted these the seeds of the super plants,
Right.
that area tends to be better. I'm not saying everyone can become the super plant, but at least the genetic characteristics are there.
Right.
That was the intention behind isolating these super plants.
You have a lot of bee boxes,
Correct.
you know, across your Robusta plants and also around the banana plants.
Correct.
Let's talk about Robusta only.
Correct.
How does it help in the pollination and what's the purpose behind that?
So just to let everyone know, Robusta is cross-pollinated by the plant. The flowering is cross-pollinated. So
Okay.
basically, it needs external agencies, bees, insects, butterflies, any of these. So any of these insects, beneficial insects, and that's where I go back to an earlier point saying that we have a lot of fruit trees on our farm. These fruit trees support these animals or these insects, and in turn they support us.
Wow, that's a nice
Yes.
ecosystem.
Correct. So we introduced the honeybees because we were realizing that because of various factors, climatically, etc., we are seeing that the bee population is decreasing. So we have certain areas in our estate or on the farm where we would get bees at particular times of the year, and they would be helping us with the pollination.
Right.
Because in cross pollination, the bee has to move from a flower to flower, and that's when the pollen sets, and then that's how you get the coffee. Others, a lot of times you would hear coffee producers say, you know, I had a brilliant blossom. It was looking absolutely gorgeous, but I'm not picking my crop. So, I mean, there are multiple reasons, but one of them could also be because Robusta is cross-pollinated.
Okay.
And the humming noise or of a bee doing its work is music to our ears, because that means that, you know, the pollination is happening, automatically the fruit set will happen, and we can anticipate a better crop.
Let's say the SLN requires more water.
Correct.
And the other heirloom requires less
Little
care.
less, yes, absolutely.
Less care.
Yeah.
If you have to pick, like, which is your favorite?
It's very difficult for me as you know, having
Choose a favorite.
to choose between my children, so as to say, you know. But each of them has its positives and negatives. But it's interesting that you talk about the water requirement, because also what we have done is we have done a lot of rainwater harvesting. It's a hotspot, a bio hotspot in the world. It's a very sensitive region in terms of the climatic overall. For the world, it's just not for India or for the microclimatic, it's for the world. So we need to be very careful about what we do here. In addition to that, the amount of rain that we get, if you're just going to let it go, you know, it's taking away the topsoil, it's taking away all this. Plus, you're not able to recharge the water veins. So at strategic places, we have opened these pits, which act as barriers. So the water which flows out of our farm are taken through channels into these pits. The groundwater is charged, the silt remains there, and then of course the water moves on. So automatically what happens is, with the water level being higher, the water requirement of the plant kind of comes down, because the roots, because Robusta, another very interesting thing about Robusta is the roots are very at the top layer. So the first 2 to 3 inches at the top layer is where most of the feeder roots are. So whatever you do, you need to ensure that those 2 to 3 inches are taken care of. So all these activities are, like I was mentioning, the finer 1%ers which we keep implementing year after year.
Okay. That's really good. Like, you know, for the biodiversity of the plants for the area, it's really good that you don't do monocropping also.
Correct.
I saw some of the, you know, plants not in your estate but on the way, and somewhere else also, that they put a lot of white powder on the ground.
Correct.
It just look white, completely white, which kind of, you know, destroy the whole land, destroy the whole, you know, the worms that are also under the ground.
So also what happens is, you need to work along with the microbes in the soil, because they are your friends, earthworms.
Right.
Earthworms are very essential. As much as honeybees are essential, earthworms are essential. So we even when you're doing any sort of work, you need to be mindful that you cannot destroy the microbes, because the microbes play a very, very crucial role in the way the plant lives, because that's its zone, right? The where the roots are. So if you're going to kill that zone, you're effectively killing your own plant. So a lot of times growers knowingly or unknowingly put things onto the plant or put things onto the soil which could be very harmful. So you just need to be very cautious. Like I said, first is we are in the Western Ghats. We are in a bio hotspot. Plus, you need to work with nature. So I think once you get that philosophy in your head, saying that, listen, I'm here. I've been blessed to have this piece of land. People would give an arm and a leg to be here, because you keep hearing people come to our parts and say, I wish I could be here. I wish I could have this sort of peace and quiet and work in this with nature. So when we realize that we are so blessed because we are working here, then we need to tell ourselves that we need to work with nature. How can we work with nature rather than trying to do something because because we saw it on the internet or we saw it somebody doing in Brazil. See, Brazilian conditions or say Vietnam conditions or any other country.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to just point out one or two. Any country. See, they have their own climatic requirements. They have their own plant requirement. So trying to adopt something because you saw it there, or somebody went there and came back and said, you know what, they are irrigating and giving a plant say 400 liters of water per day or something like that. I mean, it's not necessary if you can do certain things, because the Indian requirement is different. But at the same time, be very cautious about what you're introducing onto your farm, because see, with coffee, right, these are perennial crops, unlike let's say vegetable or rice or wheat, which is short duration.
Right.
So if you do something, you come to know the result in a short period of time. With coffee, unfortunately,
patience.
And if you do something, you may not know immediately. You may come to know 2 years later, and then you'll be scratching your head and wondering what happened. What did I do wrong? And then you need to backtrack and say, okay, it could be this. So you need to be very, very cautious about what you're doing.
I roasted the Liberica yesterday, and I have been also consuming brewing Big Tail. It's really good. I'm also surprised in a way, because the typical Robusta has been understood in a very different way, that it is supposed to be cheaper, it is supposed to be like very woody. But here when I brew Big Tail or when I brew the Liberica that I yesterday did, it is completely changing my perspective that how sweet this coffee is.
Correct.
It has like very natural sweetness.
True.
It has like really good acidity in this. Now considering this difference, I feel it completely changed my perspective towards Robusta. So what do you think the consumer patterns are changing these days, or what's your point on consumer patterns in terms of buying Robusta?
If you go back 15 years, people didn't want to even talk to you if you said you were a Robusta producer, and if you said you were Specialty Robusta, they said there's nothing called Specialty Robusta. A couple of things have happened. One is people, Robusta producers have realized that we don't need to be apologetic that we're growing Robusta. I think I think there was this feeling saying I grow Robusta, suddenly your shoulders, you're like this saying I grow Robusta, versus putting your chest out and saying I grow Robusta,
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong in growing Robusta. What's wrong in growing Robusta? But people had this feeling saying that if I'm growing Robusta, it's like it's a cheap crop, it's etc. So I think one is with more people looking at how we can improve processing, which is good. I mean, I'm not saying that you should not improve processing. I think better machines have come in, better technology has come in, even the extraction, typically espresso machines, etc.
Yes.
So everywhere, and then suddenly there's a necessity for Robustas, because people are understanding that naturally as humans we tend to gravitate to something which is sweet tasting.
Yes.
I mean, it is but natural. Now, if I have to give you first thing in the morning something which tastes like vinegar and say that it's really good, you're just going to spit it out, because you don't want to taste something like that in the morning. So if you go back and talk to a lot of old planters, coffee planters, who also used to grow Arabica back in the day, because those days it was only Arabica, Robusta was an afterthought. But they would say their house blend, what they would consume at home, For 4 parts of Arabica, they used to add 1 part. They used to call it Gundlu. Gundlu is Robusta cherry. So you ask a person who's been in coffee, say in the 60s, 70s, etc. He'll say the house blend used to be Arabica with Robusta. That is Gundlu. So 4 parts to 1 part. That used to be a standard recipe of planters of yore. So it's not that people didn't consume Robusta even in India or elsewhere. It's just the perception that if you said you are consuming Robusta, you were treated like this guy doesn't know what he's doing kind of thing. So I think the world has understood that coffees can coexist. Robusta is there, Arabica is there. Typically, I think what has happened is people have understood that Robusta brings on a nice body and sweetness to a blend, which is important because like I alluded to earlier, the human palate tends to gravitate towards something which is sweet versus something which is very acidic. I mean, there are people who like different things, but generally I'm saying. So the Robusta tends to add that. It definitely brings a body, and it's a very forgiving coffee from that aspect. So especially in cafes, in restaurants, where you need to have certain type of coffee put out year after year, month after month, day after day, I think Robusta helps that. And then I think people have understood, okay, if I have a pure Robusta, what it brings. There are people who want that caffeine rush, that body, that punch. There are people who want different things. So I think everyone is understood to realize, we can live peacefully as long as it's good coffee.
I mean, there is a 100% Robusta cafe in Hyderabad.
Yes.
Last House Cafe.
Yes.
Now there are more people who are serving good Robusta.
Correct.
What are the similarities between Arabica and Robusta?
So obviously the plant, I mean in terms of they all come from the broader same family. A very interesting story that I heard, and this is from a professor who was well known. He's from Kew Garden. One professor called Dr. Aaron Davies.
Okay.
He had famously predicted years back, saying that wild Arabica in I think in the jungles of Ethiopia, etc., will cease to exist because of climate change by, I'm forgetting whether it's 2030 or 2050.
All right.
I mean it's there in the internet space. People can look it up. And so I remember having a conversation with him in Panama. We were talking about Specialty Robusta, Canaphora, various other things, and both of us were on the same panel. And before the panel discussion happened over breakfast, I was chatting to him about Robusta, and he said, listen, when people say 100% Arabica, they're actually, it's wrong. Because there's nothing called 100% Arabica, because the parents to Arabica were Robusta. So two Robustas got together to give Arabica, the broader perspective. I mean, when you say 100% Arabica, I get what you mean by saying 100% Arabica. The bean is 100% Arabica, but it has some Robusta blood in it, if I may use the term. So when people say no, I can't touch Robusta, I get allergy if I drink it or something like that, then you're wrong, because as it is, there is some Robusta in it.
It's coming from the same four families.
It's coming from there. So that is the one of the similarities. Of course, the way you grow it, especially in India, it's all our coffee shade grown. We look after nature. The processing. A lot of similarities in. I mean, I'm talking now about Specialty Robusta and Specialty Arabica.
Yes.
I'm not talking about commercial.
Right.
So there's a lot of similarities in the way you harvest it, the way you process it, the patio drying. You put it out in the sun. It's all sun dried, hand harvested. You go through certain practices which are considered good practices to produce good washed coffees or good natural coffees. So there's a lot of similarities in that. Even the broader requirement of the plant, although the percentages could vary because the yields are different, but the broader requirement of the plant, where plants or living things need about 16 elements to complete its life cycle. So when I say 16 elements, it's like nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, then some micronutrients like zinc, boron, then even smaller requirements like molybdenum, silica, selenium, etc. So there are 16 of these broadly, and they are in particular ratios. So both Robusta and Arabica being plants require them. So the growing, the plant requirement is all there. It's just that because of the yields and the requirements individually of the plant, the percentages vary, but those similarities are there. Then certain cultural practices during, we do pruning of the coffee, we do certain other things like weeding, so many other things are there which is quite similar. So there are synergies and there are differences.
There are less differences and more similarities between these two crops.
Correct. I mean, broadly, if you're looking at specialty, I mean, if you look at whoever does specialty, right? I mean, when I mean specialty, I mean for both Arabica and Robusta.
Right.
I think a lot of similarities have to be there for it to be special.
Right.
Okay, the broadly one is the genetics. Now certain varieties of coffee give you certain characteristics.
Yeah.
So it starts with that. Now if you have those characteristics, then you work on that. How do I make it better? Now if in an Arabica you are looking at, let's say, acidity. So how do I get more acidity out of it? What do I have to do? If it's the Robusta, because people are looking for more body and a clean coffee, because everyone wants clean Robusta, because others typically when you buy commercial Robusta, it's dirty, it has stains, it has this thing. So how do we get clean Robusta so that when you make a blend, like you just mentioned, a 60-40, or I went back and said about old planters who had 4:1 ratio, that's a 20% Robusta. So how does it add to the coffee, but doesn't make it dirty?
What is the future that you're looking at in next 5 years?
So honestly, we produce quite a decent amount of coffee which we export everywhere. We do between 15 to 20 containers of specialty coffee which we export to different parts of the world, and so this is our own. So what I'm exporting is what we produce.
Right.
I'm not a trader. I don't buy from the market and then sell it. So the climate change has impacted Arabica lot more than it has impacted Robusta. The yields have dropped significantly in Arabica estates. We have a pest in India called the white stem borer, and the pest has been ravaging Arabica farms everywhere. It basically drills a hole into the coffee plant and kills the plant. It sucks the sap out of the coffee plant, so the coffee plant dies. So a lot of estates are losing a lot of plants year on year. The white stem borer has just increased exponentially because of the weather conditions. So I think climate change has played a role. The Robusta, how should I say, with the current climatic conditions, seems to be a better alternative for coffee farmers, provided they have sufficient water, because Robusta, the main requirement to grow good Robusta is water during a very critical period between say February and March. For those 60 days, water plays a very important role. If you go back and see statistics 20-30 years back, the spread between Arabica and Robusta was, I think, world production 70-30 roughly.
Okay.
Now I think it is coming, these are broad lines, I mean obviously exact numbers can be looked up, but in the last 20 to 30 years, from 70-30 world production has come to 60-40. Brazil, which used to be at one time the largest producer of Arabica, the Arabica production is kind of stagnant now. It still is the largest producer of coffee in the world, but in another 2 years is going to be the largest producer of Robusta. And so the entire, there's been a huge shift in the way Brazil also grows its coffee. So, and of course Vietnam is there, India also. India 30 odd years back used to produce 70% or 40 years back maybe, in the 80s, 40 years back, used to produce 70% Arabica and 30% Robusta. Now the shift has changed, and today we produce 70% Robusta and 30% Arabica.
Oh my God.
So there's been a huge change. And
that's a drastic shift.
And these are all because of economical reasons. Farmers can't sustain only having Arabica because of the pest I mentioned, climatic conditions and various other things. So they are looking at alternatives, and Robusta is a steady, ready alternative, and the acceptance of people saying that, okay, with Robusta, we can still get a decent price for our produce as long as we do certain things correctly.
So how do you feel like you made a really good move 30 years ago by coming back, making sure it's 100% Robusta, working so hard last 30 years and seeing the shift that it's like going towards more Robusta?
it's very difficult to explain this, but it kind of justifies your decision, right? Because when you see more and more people, and a lot of these people were actually the ones who said, listen, are you off your head? Are you nuts? Why are you doing this? And today they are the same people who are converting, So
it's a good feeling.
Yeah, it feels nice, but at the same time, it also feels, how should I say? I feel my decision was validated, to do this all those years, because I think it's important to understand, and I think this is true with most of us. Sometimes we don't, take those hard decisions when they need to be taken because we are worried, saying, what will I do with this? What will I do with that? Everyone's doing Arabica. Why should I not do Arabica? And so on and so forth. So I think sometimes, you just need to take those hard decisions as long as it is backed by a very sound reason as to why you want to do it. I was fortunate that, things have worked the way it has over 30 years. And, the world is seeing this boom in Robusta. I'm sure, there are countries which are also looking at how we can increase production in Arabica. It's not that they are not. Colombia, I know, is spending taking a lot of effort to take up its Arabica production. And I think both the coffees will coexist. It's not that Robusta is just going to overtake Arabica and there's only going to be Robusta consumption. But the good thing is people are drinking everything. So I remember talking to so-called the pundits in the early days. Used to always say, just drink the coffee. Drink it and give an honest opinion. Don't give a biased opinion.
Right.
So as long as you enjoy your coffee, I'm happy. It doesn't matter to me it's Arabica or Robusta because your taste is different. Somebody likes it sweeter, someone likes it spicier, someone food wise I'm saying.
Yeah, I've spent like now 3 days on your estate, and every bit of it I have loved it so much. The food, the hospitality,
Thank you.
The care you have given to the plants and to the people who are guests at your property.
Thank you, appreciate it.
The efforts that you are taking towards being here. You could have chosen a different life for yourself.
Correct.
Right. It's not like you had the option.
Yes.
But you picked this. How's your day like in the estate?
It's quite intense, to be honest with you, because we start with it's an early morning start. Because it starts with the what we call as the Gante. Gante is a local term for muster or roll call. So all our workers will come to the office in the morning. So we do the attendance and then they are allocated to different parts, and this happens at about 7:30 in the morning. So right from 7:30 till 4:30 we are completely consumed in what's happening in the estate, because everything is work here. There's nothing I can sit in the office. It's not like I can sit in the office and in direct, because I need to go there. And because I've been doing this for 30 years, literally, I shouldn't say this because people may think I'm mad. I've got used to people calling me that. That's fine. But so when you walk around the estate, literally when you look at a plant, the plant talks to you. So it tells you certain signs. And if you're smart enough and if you have got the experience, okay, whether it's in a happy space, whether it's feeling a little stressed out, if it's feeling stressed out, what can I do to, remove the stress and so on and so forth. So it's a very, so I spend a lot of time and I walk. I've been doing this and I promised myself and I said until I can walk, I will not buy myself a Jeep.
Wow.
So I don't have a Jeep on the estate. So the day I find it difficult to walk, maybe I'll consider buying myself a Jeep or maybe I'll retire that day. I don't know. That day is still somewhere there.
No, that's amazing. It's like you're focusing on your health, the environment health, the fruit, the plants health, and of course your family.
Correct.
But also the guests who are at your property.
No, it's nice to have people like you over, because I think y'all are important. Y'all are like the evangelists. Y'all will go and talk about what we do and spread the word about good coffee. Good Robusta, good coffee.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for hosting.
Thank you. Appreciate it, and thank you for
welcome next year again.
You should, and we'll do another one.
Yes.
Thank you. Take care.